welcome back to A Page at a Time. I speak about writing and reading and other stuff on here, and I was putting so much pressure on myself for the end of the year video. I only started YouTube again like I think a month ago or something, so it seems silly to do a whole like reading wrap up when I've just spoke about my 5-star reads of the year so far already. It felt silly to talk about my writing because I haven't done so much since I started the channel anyway. So instead I just wanted to do a reflection on the year so far, the year as it has been in 2023 for me, and the energy that I'm bringing into 2024. So funnily enough, my goal for this year was to bring a sense of centre to my life, to feel more assured and calm in who I am. And in a way, I have done that because I have had a lot of moments of self-discovery, a lot of lessons learned. But at the same time, I felt like I was so stressed this year, so angry, so upset. There was a lot of comparison, a lot of jealousy, and there were a lot of low moments. I don't feel like my mental health was great this year, and I can only really pinpoint the reason for that being that I put too much pressure on myself. 2023 I knew was going to be a good year because it was my final year of university, but alongside that, so much stress and pressure comes with the final year of university, because it's like the first half, so from January to May I was still studying, so obviously I was trying to study whilst working full-time, whilst being a wife and a daughter and writing books and doing my other creative pursuits and reading books and doing yoga and like all these things that you have to do to live a normal healthy life. I was trying to balance all of that while also studying, and that was difficult. And because I hold myself to a high standard, I wanted good grades, and the first 2 grades that I got this year were actually the lowest grades that I've got ever in my university career. So that was horrible. I felt like, oh, I'm going to end on a low. I really wanted to end on a high, but of course I'm going to end on a low, that I'm not as good as I thought I was, I'm not good at literature, that everything I'd achieved so far was a lie, a facade, a mirage, because I wasn't doing well anymore. And luckily I picked up my socks, went back to the drawing board and tried again, and I got better and better, and my last grade for university was the best grade I've ever gotten, which was great. Sorry if you can hear scraping in the background, it's my dog playing. So I feel like there was a lot of pressure on myself this year, and then obviously once university's done, it's that breathing space, like, oh, I did it. And I think like I had that a little bit over the summer, but then once it came to September, and because I work in a school as well, it's kind of cyclical like that, once it came to September, it was that pressure again. It's like, right, we're back to it, back at work. The weather's going back to being dark and cold and grey, which I love the autumn vibe because I like scarves and coats, and I like the crisp leaves and the colours and stuff, and I love Halloween. But at the same time, it is kind of a low period where you've lost the summer, you've lost the high energy, you've lost all the vibrancy, and then you're going back inward. And again, going inward is beautiful. I love that. I'm a yogi and stuff, but I felt like university's done, and it's the first time in 4 years where I've never started university again in October, where I wasn't doing something again that was kind of anchoring me. And in my job, I felt like a bit of uncertainty as well. So there was a lot of fear in that time period. So the last 4 months of the year, I feel like I've just been stressed. I've been anxious. I've been like, okay, so how are you going to use your university degree? How are you going to make this time that you spent, these 4 years that you spent, worthwhile? What have you actually learned? How have you grown? You know, like there was so many questions, and I think that, you know, autumn and winter is perfect for a bit of a questioning period. It's perfect for reflection. However, when that reflection becomes rumination and judgment and, you know, criticism, then that's not healthy. And that's what it became for me. It became about dissecting who I was and what my purpose is and what I'm even here for. And then the novel that I wrote in summer, I always try to write over summer, especially. Obviously I write throughout the year when I'm inspired, but when I'm off for summer and, you know, summer break, of course I'm going to try and write as much as I can. And I did write a novel, and I wrote an 88,000 words of a first draft of a novel, and that's brilliant. However, when I finished it, I had a moment of obviously feeling good and stuff, but then afterwards I was like, you know what, that wasn't the right story. It didn't go in the right direction. It's not the story I want to tell. And those moments really suck. They're really hard, because it's like, well, I've put so much effort into this thing, was so excited at points for this thing, and because this was also a story that I built on from a story I wrote last year, it felt even more like, oh yes, I'm making it better, this is better, I'm rewriting, this is great, these characters are really strong, and the characters still are really strong, but then when the story itself doesn't feel quite cohesive, doesn't feel quite what you wanted it to be, that can be really stressful and really tiring. And so I think that knocked me sideways for my creativity a little bit, and I started beating myself up so much again, because I was like, well, right, so I wrote a story that wasn't quite the right one, so I'm back to the drawing board. I've not managed to make anything come of my university degree. I'm in my job and I'm a bit unsure if I should still stay here and how long I should stay here for. My mental health is slipping because I'm questioning all these things and stressing myself out with all these things. I'm trying to be happy for the people in my life who are getting married this year, but not feeling quite into it because of all the other things going on in the background, and feeling so much pressure because time's ticking and I'm getting older, and it's like, well, you have to make the decisions, you have to make your life better. You can't go into your 30s without being sure of who you are and what you want. Like, I'm 28 and turning 29 in April, so it feels like there's this massive pressure to end my 20s knowing that I'm sure of where I am and who I am and where I want to go. And I know that so many people talk about their 30s as this beautiful decade where you actually do know yourself well, because the 20s you're discovering yourself, you're trying things, you're planning and you're failing and you're learning and you're growing, and that's great, but it's also very stressful. And then the 30s is where you use everything you've learned and you feel more confident in yourself. But I feel worried that I'm going into my 30s just as unsure, not quite in the same way, but almost just as unsure as I am in my 20s. And of course, there's, as a married woman, there's the added social pressures of having children and settling down and buying the house and the white picket fence and all these things, and it's just like, it's too much. But then when I actually zoom out, I realise that a lot of people aren't putting those pressures on me. I'm putting those pressures on me. That people aren't saying, Shana, when are you having a child? People aren't saying, Shana, why aren't you famous author yet? People aren't saying, Shana, you should quit your job and get a better one. No one's saying those things to me. They're outside pressures from perhaps an old rhetoric, perhaps from, you know, social media and YouTube and comparing myself to other people who are on there. But actually in my own life, there's not a lot of that pressure. And my siblings are very successful. They both make more money than I do. They're both in industries where they feel a lot more confident and, like, you know, proud of where they are. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with my job that I have, but of course it's not the job that I want. Ultimately, I want to be an author. I want to live off writing books and telling stories, and so I'm not where I want to be. But then in the same vein, my brother and my sister have struggled with their lives this year. They've struggled in their jobs, they've struggled for money. Like, even when you feel like somebody's doing better than you, they still struggle. And that's a massive lesson for me to keep learning. I feel like I keep learning it, and the energy that I want to bring into next year is to just realize that there's no need to compare to anybody. I'm not in a race with anybody. We're not in competition. And I feel like it's also unfair to say the whole, you're not competing with anybody else, you're competing with yourself, you're competing with your past self. And I feel like that's unfair too, because your past self is different to the self that you are now. So it's still a comparison of apples and oranges. It's still a comparison that's not fair, because the past you didn't know everything that you know now. So you're naturally, hopefully, going to make better decisions than the past you did anyway. But also the past you never had perhaps the same responsibilities that you have now. So obviously I'm married and I have a dog and I have a house. I never had these things 5 years ago. So I can't compare myself to 5 years ago me, who is going to make different decisions than I would today anyway. So I think that a lot of this year was about me stressing and comparing, and the pressure that I put on myself unnecessarily, because I felt like I had to fulfill an image, that I had to achieve something really big and grand, otherwise it wasn't worthwhile. That if I didn't get the university degree and use it, then it wasn't worthwhile. And use it, I mean, like, use it, because obviously I'm using it every day. Like, the knowledge and the confidence that I've got from the degree is worth way more than a set job or, you know, publishing a book. Like, those things are beautiful and amazing, and hopefully I'll get those things one day, but they're not why I did the degree. I did the degree because I needed to, at a dark time in my life where I didn't know what else to do, where I felt like I'd lost everything. This was in 2019, where I was unemployed, my business had failed. I was looking at my peers who had finished university a long time ago, feeling like, I don't know what to do. I kept going round and round and round in circles, beating myself up for not finishing university. And this felt like, okay, now that everything else is swept away, what's left? And I felt like university was the right thing to do. And so I did it. And I don't regret that. Whether something big comes from it or not, I know that it's given me confidence. I know that it helped anchor me in a time when I needed to be anchored. I know that it's helped me have one of the greatest experiences of this year. My graduation was an amazing experience. I didn't expect it to be so profound and beautiful, but it made me so happy to be celebrated and have everything that I'd done means something in that one moment, and everything like accumulates, and be surrounded by other people who have achieved what you've achieved. Like, that's such a beautiful moment. And when I thought about graduation when I was a kid, that's like well, that's what I wanted. I didn't think about everything else as much as the graduation. I wanted to wear the gown and the cap and feel important. Like, I think that's okay. That's what I wanted. I don't dream of a wedding dress. I dreamed of a cap and gown. And I had that moment, and that's beautiful. That's amazing. Sorry, I realise it's very dark around me all of a sudden. British weather for you guys. Anyway, so what I'm trying to say is what I've learned this year that I really want to bring into next year is that forcing things, planning things, wanting to be perfect, needing to prove something, putting all this pressure on yourself, being hyper disciplined and striving and focusing, like zoomed, uber focused on one set goal, one set image, is actually unhealthy for me. And I say this for me because I know that some people need that. I know that some people are perhaps, I don't know, very lazy and laid back, and so they need a bit more of that discipline in their lives. But I think for me that it actually causes me too much stress, and that it puts this pressure on me that feels like if I don't succeed, then I'm a failure, I'm useless. Because I felt like this for all of my life. I felt like, as the middle child, I felt like my brother is the smart one, and my sister is the cool one, and my sister is the strong one, and my brother is the one who's got it all together, and I'm just the piggy in the middle. Like, I've always felt like that. And then with my friends at school, I struggled with friendships for a lot of my teenage years. So I didn't feel like I had my place, and I just felt like everybody was doing everything better than me. And so to then bring comparison and competition into my life in terms of social media, in terms of who has the best house, who has the best job, who has the best money, who has the best dog, even who has the best marriage, who has the best fitness workout, like who has the best body. Like, it's so many races that we're all in that we don't realize we're in, so many competitions that we're having inside of our minds that we don't realize we're having, and they're having a negative effect on us every bloody day. And I really want to chip away at that, because I'm already in like lifelong self-made competitions since I was a kid. I don't need any more of that. I don't need to be beating myself up because I didn't read a certain amount of books, or I didn't read a certain book. Like, this year I'm on book number 53, and that's the most books I've ever read. That is the most books I've ever read. That is an excellent amount of books, and I know that majority of those were meh. They were middle of the road. I've already spoke about that. And I was obviously, like, everyone's doing their like wrapped up and their best books of the year and how many books I read this year, and it's very easy to be like, well, I'm crap because I didn't read as much as them, or I didn't read as many 5-star reads as them. But the thing I'm bringing into next year is that I would rather slow down, read so much less, but read more books that I actually enjoy, that I love, that I like, yep, this ticks my boxes, this is perfect for my tastes. That's an important journey for me to be on, and that's what we need to do. We need to do more of that, like appreciating the success that we have that's specific to us and not anybody else. So if you're somebody who has never read a book, like in adulthood, you probably have as a kid, but if you're somebody who doesn't read often, but then you read one book this year, you're amazing, obviously, because you achieved something way bigger and better than what you did before. If you're somebody who last year read 25 books, but this year you read 30, you've achieved more. And it doesn't even have to be about more. That's what I'm really truly trying to learn as well. It doesn't have to be about more. It's about also, okay, last year I read no books that were a 5-star, but this year I read one book that was a 5-star. That's amazing. That's progress. It's about, oh, I haven't read a certain type of book, but I've always been interested, and so now I'm reading, I don't know, murder mysteries or something, and I love them. Like, that's an achievement. Anything that you've learned about yourself, anything that you've enjoyed is an achievement. And we all, at the end of the year, are reflecting on what we've achieved, but we don't think about those little things that are achievements, and not even little things, but like the big moments of joy that come from something simple or something small or something overlooked. Like, I saw a YouTuber on my Instagram said that put down your stupid or silly or fun resolutions, or your stupid silly fun things you want to achieve next year. And people were saying stuff like, do a handstand, knit a glove, and run with my arms flailing like Phoebe from Friends. And it's just like, those things are so beautiful, so exciting to me, and I want to kind of scrap everything else and be like, okay, let's just set one stupid goal every month, one stupid thing that I can achieve. Because my big thing for next year, I wanted it to be like calm, because I was like, what's the antithesis of what I felt this year, which is stress and pressure? The antithesis of that, the opposite of that, is calm. However, calm isn't something that you just do, and when you have anxiety disorders, calm isn't something that's very easy. And so I'm like, okay, how can I feel calm? How can I do things that make me feel more calm? And that the big way to do that for me is to reduce the pressures. So all the other things of have to do's and shoulds and expectations, all of those things build pressure. But then also to bring a sense of playfulness and lightness to things, instead of, because I'm hoping to go to Japan next year, so instead of me like, because that's my dream trip, instead of me like anally planning and being religious and like, oh, I have to do this, and it has to be this, and if I don't do this, then I'm going to be sad, like that's just going to make me miserable. It's going to make me stressed on the trip, it's going to make me stressed going there, it's going to make me feel so much pressure, I'm going to be tired, I'm not going to be able to even enjoy it. But instead, I know that ultimately I just want to be in Japan. So when I am in Japan, I need to just be there, I need to be present, I need to take my time, be more intentional, and just have fun. Just like, oh my god, look at that thing that I would never see in the UK. Oh my god, look at these foods that taste so great. Just enjoy it and take a slower pace. And if it means I don't do as many things as I should be doing, or as many things as I expect to do, that's fine. Hopefully Japan will always be there, and hopefully I'll always have the ability to go again, whether that means in 20 years time or I get to go again the next year, whatever, it doesn't matter. Like, we put so much pressure on ourselves as if life is very short, and yes, life is short, it is, but it's about balancing that mindset of life is short, do things, and life is long, take your time, stop putting so much pressure on yourself. Because if we think of life as too short, then we try to stuff everything into a moment that the moment feels too jam-packed, too cluttered, and we can't appreciate it for what it is. And we are becoming too stressed, like it's like a computer with too many tabs open. You've got too many things that you're trying to do at once, that you lose sight of all the beautiful parts of what actually living is. So I want to next year feel so much more lightness, to have a lot less on my plate, to enjoy the slowness that time has right for me right now. Because one day it's going to come where I might have a job that's more stressful, where I might be a career author and there's somebody demanding deadlines from me, where I might be a parent, where I might have to look after a loved one who gets sick. There's so many things that might happen that will take my time away from me, that will take my energy away from me, that will make life more stressful. But my life at the moment isn't that stressful. I'm married to a man who's very fun, very exciting, very laid back, and I need to be more like that because he is just so much less stressed. I'm like, oh, I want to be you. So I need to be like enjoying that stage of my life that I'm in right now, where I don't have all those responsibilities. I need to enjoy the fact that I work in a school, so yeah, you know, I don't make as much money as my siblings, but you know what, I have more time off than them. I get to laugh with kids and just have fun in my job a lot of the time. Like, that's a gift that not many people have, and I have a lot of work-life balance because of that. Yes, I do stuff a lot of expectation into the holidays, like obviously I have to write, I have to read, I have to do this, I have to do that to make it better, but I need to realise that that time is there for me, and I'm so grateful, so lucky to have that time. So enjoy it while it's there. Enjoy the winter season where, you know, everyone's indoors and just playing video games. Like, after this video I'm gonna go play Hogwarts Legacy and feel absolutely unapologetic about it, because I want to go into the new year with this energy of relaxation, slowness, calm, and playfulness, to just realize. And I think it's either John Green or Hank Green said this, and it's a beautiful, once I heard it like 2 years ago, I was like, oh, this is perfect. You will never be truly productive until you realize that joy is something that you can produce. And I love that, and I'm definitely butchering it, so if I find the right quote, I'll put it on the screen so I've got it correct. But that is something that I want to bring into the new year, that I need to hold on to at the core of my very being, that actually the most important thing for being productive is to bring joy into my life, because I already know that I'm naturally somebody who knows what I need to do. I know what my healthy habits are. I know I need to move my body every day. I know that I need to do yoga. I know I need to eat certain foods. I know that I like to journal. I like to meditate. I know that I need to sleep well. I know all of those things and I do them quite naturally. Like, I have a night routine. I'm not a good sleeper by nature, probably because of the anxiety disorder, but I do have a good sleep hygiene, a good sleep routine, because I've struggled with my sleep since I was a kid. I naturally want to do yoga. I naturally want to move my body. I like going for walks. I've got a dog, so I have to go for walks. I like talking about how I feel. I'm very good at that. I've been doing it since I was a kid, again, because I've been to therapy since I was a kid, so I'm good at talking about my feelings and not bottling things up. I know when to reach out to my counsellor. I know when to reach out to friends and family. I have a good support system around me, so I naturally think that I'm quite good at doing healthy things. I'm quite good at my habits, so I don't need to stress about them. I think that they'll work with me. I just need to work with them, if that makes sense. Instead, the things that I do need to actually focus on right now are my relationships with others. I need to stop seeing it as, oh, I'm wasting so much time by hanging out with this person. No, I'm not. That's so good for me to have conversations with the right people. It's so good for me to build a community, to have that support system that's there for me, not just when I'm sad, but when I'm happy, that we just share laughs with each other. Like, my favourite thing to do is just laughing on the sofa with my husband, watching something, our stupid jokes, and we give each other handshakes and we make good jokes. I mean, that's such a beautiful bonding experience, and I need to have that with more than just him. It's very easy as an introvert, especially as somebody who works a very extroverted job, to come home and I just spend time with my husband and that's it. But instead, my mum's not going to be here forever. My nan and granddad aren't going to be here forever. My siblings potentially might move country. I'm not going to have them around me forever. So I need to soak up those moments with them. And my nephew, who's growing up, I'm going to have a niece next year. Like, there's so many exciting things coming, and I need to appreciate those moments and appreciate the relationships in my life. And I need to appreciate that joy and playfulness and, you know, connecting with my inner child, the person who I don't think I got to be when I was younger, to be honest. I don't think I was allowed to be playful. I definitely did loads of games and I wrote stories, obviously. I was the leader of the games, with like the imaginative games. We pretended that we were different characters and stuff. Like, I definitely did that, and I laughed and watched Avatar: The Last Airbender and all the things on Cartoon Network. But I think that I also stressed myself out a lot as a kid. I mean, I found my old storybooks from when I was a kid, and I think I was in year 6, and I wrote a contract at the back of that book saying that I will take my fitness seriously, I will become an athlete, I will take my writing seriously, I will become an author. And I signed it and everything, and I was just like, wow. Like, one, quite proud of myself for taking my goals so seriously so young, but the other hand, I'm like, gosh, that is so much pressure, so much stress. I clearly didn't allow myself to relax a lot as a kid, especially as a teenager and in my early 20s. I didn't allow myself to just relax and be stupid and have fun. Instead, I was like, I need to be successful, I need to be successful, I need to be successful. And I get where that comes from, and I won't speak to that on here because it's not for you guys to know. I get where that comes from, but I need to now realise that I'm an adult, I'm safe, I'm in control of my situation, I have good people around me, I have a good job, I'm secure, and I need to just relax now and be like, you know what, I want to play Hogwarts Legacy. You know what, I want to dance instead of do something like yoga. Do you know what, I want to go laugh in the rain. Do you know what, I'm going to invite my sister over for a movie night and just the two of us. Like, to just have those moments that feel meaningless but are so meaningful. So the last thing I'll say is that the reason I want to bring that into the new year is not just because it's healthy, because it is so healthy, and it, like I say, it's the antithesis of this year, so hopefully it'll mean a better year for next year. But the reason that I want to bring it in as well is because it helps me to be a creative person, and I know that ultimately at my core, the thing that I've always wanted is to write stories, and I think that I am good at it, and I think that I do have good stories inside of me. But it's hard for those stories to come out when I feel so stressed, when I feel so tired, when I feel so in competition with others, and I feel so much pressure on myself. So instead, if I bring that joyfulness, that playfulness, then again, I think I can unlock that kid that I was, who used to write stories into the night because I couldn't stop myself, who was so excited about the stories that I was writing, who was excited to do different characters, who didn't care if it was maybe a bit derivative because I was copying from something else. It doesn't matter. Like, as long as I'm enjoying the creative process, as long as I'm enjoying what I'm writing, it doesn't matter if it's finished or not, whether it's acclaimed or not, whether I'm going to make it into a book or not, whether it's going to be shared with anyone or not. It doesn't matter. I just want to be creating and enjoying it. That's literally all I ask for next year, because at the end of the day, especially if you are a creative person, if you are somebody who wants to do something maybe fantastical and whimsical and, you know, playful, then you need to unlock that playful side of you. And that playful side and that joy and that kind of lightness that you bring into your creativity will lead to success one day. But you being stressed and pressure and deadlines and all this like heaviness on top of it just clouds the creativity so that it can't get through. And that's something that I've really learned this year, that even when I was writing actively in the summer, there was so much pressure to get it out that I don't think I enjoyed the process as much as I used to. And that there were moments that were great, but they were moments and it wasn't the whole time. And instead I just sat down to write because I knew I had to. And there's a place for that, because if you want to meet a deadline, or you have to meet a deadline, or you're somebody who knows that you won't finish if you're too laid back, then there is a place for that. Of course, you've got to sit down. You can't always be motivated and inspired. Sometimes you just got to sit down and it comes to you once you're in the moment of doing it. However, you don't need to do that with so much heaviness and so much stress and be like, I have to sit down and write every day, otherwise I'm not a writer. That's not true. That's not true at all. So sorry if this was long and rambly. It's been a good year despite all the difficulties that I've faced. I've been so proud of so many moments and had some great moments with family and friends, and achieved a lot and changed a lot, I think. It's just that it's been a very stressful year and not a great one for my mental health, and that's not the year that I want next year. So we'll see how that goes. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking about for this year, what you want to bring into next year. Thank you if you've watched any of my videos, and please do check out my podcast that I do with my friend, Don't Quit Your Daydream. It's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, all the podcast platforms, I think. I'll link it in the description down below. That way you can listen to lots of different writing advice on there. It comes out every 2 weeks. So thank you guys for listening. I hope you have a great new year and you've enjoyed your Christmas, and that you go into the new year with a lightness and a happiness. Bye.